Hey guys, just a quick update where we are with the machine to date. Had it now for a little over 2 weeks. Made some pretty good progress. It's been cold in the garage, but lately it's been warm enough for us. So I'll be able to make a little more progress now that your fingers don't freeze off when you're standing out here for 10 minutes. So most of the work has been done on the engine. There's a little bit of a basket case, but worth saving. Kohler cast iron. K181, but you could see things do look quite a bit different than when I brought her home a few weeks ago. On the ignition, I moved it from, it was nestled here next to the muffler, which was convenient for the points cover, but that's about it. Not so convenient for the coil. I put a new condenser in. The points are actually sanded, and I timed it using the static timing mark. And that ended up being exactly 20 thousandths even when timed. So that all lines up really well. And we'll do a spark test here in a minute. I'm going to get the engine warm and do a leak down. It does have a 10 thousandths over piston in it, so I assumed it was worked on, and I checked the bore. It actually looks really good. So it's actually exactly 10 thousandths over. So I'm not expecting any leakage past the rings. I didn't see any scoring. It's actually a little bit of crosshatch. And yeah, what else? Oh, so there's a new starter. Pretty excited about this. I found it for 20 bucks on eBay. Never used, new old stock. Guy was clearing his inventory. And I would have never found it, but I did the search under the actual starter part number. And that's how I was able to get that so cheap. I had to put in a new solenoid, and that was my fault. I think the old one would have been fine. However, this connection here was seized, and I didn't give the penetrating oil enough time to work its way out, and I spun the contact when I was trying to free that up, and I assume I broke the internal wiring. I could probably break it down and fix it, or I could just go to Tractor Supply and get a new one for like 15 bucks, which I did. And I fixed the ground wiring. They had this grounded to the top of the block, and you saw in the previous pictures, I got rid of the studs and went with all grade 8 head bolts. So that's good stuff. What else here? I had to run a new points connection down here where I ran it. Here, down past the bearing plate. And it's coming over here, over to the points. Still using the old fuel pump. It seems to be working. One problem is that I am getting a leak. I didn't treat that gasket. I put in dry, and I'm gonna be honest. When I work on outboards, or I used to, and whenever I put something in an oil surface, I treat it with gasket sealant. We call it Gorilla Snot, and I don't know what the right part number or what you would normally refer to it as, but that seems to seal things up. I love doing sump covers and that stuff. And if you ever have to break it down, it comes right apart, so it doesn't dry hard. And so I regret not treating that, and I'm getting a leak no matter how hard I torque that down. So I have another fuel pump coming. I wish I didn't order it. It's that plastic junk, but I don't know. Maybe I'll stall that. One thing I don't like about this one, it takes a hell of a long time to prime, and by the time I get fuel up to the carb, it seems to be dead. So maybe that diaphragm is wore out. So I'll give the new plastic garbage one a chance and see if it primes faster, and maybe I'll use it. I think it uses an O-ring to seal. Reset the governor. That takes like a second. That's nothing. And obviously clean the carb. New fuel line. And I did a quick, I didn't do usually I'm pretty anal about my wiring, but just enough to get I redid all the wiring, got rid of the rat's nest, wired in the ammeter here, and that's how I discovered that, notice my regulator is gone. It wasn't charging. And I checked the output of the stator. It was 14.6 volts, I think, which almost seems like it's already getting regulated. I thought it would have been a little higher. And I thought it would have got regulated inside of the regulator itself. I think it uses a Zener diode. And there's, I put power in for the front lamp. This is rough wired in. I'll eventually make a harness for this. And then, so now, oh, and that wasn't here when I bought the tractor, so I found this for, God, it was like 25 bucks on eBay. Full lamp assembly, which functions, which is awesome. See here, fits right in there perfect. So, pretty stoked about that. See that? Pretty sweet. Since I don't have charging, I can't run that very well. I'd like to be able to start the engine. I might have to actually use my an external source to start the engine because it's straining pretty fast with that starter. Yeah, cleaned up all the contacts. Yeah, other than that, I didn't do a whole lot to the rest of the tractor. Oh, and we got the new C-pan from a C145. I love it. It bolted that down with some new grade 8 bolts. I put shorter bolts in because you have such a thin, you're going through thin tin now instead of thick plastic. So, and I think it would have hit the fuel tank. Okay, and I'm gonna do a spark test here in a minute, test the ignition, and then start her up, warm it up, and do a leak down test. All right, nice little pop. Let me turn that down one more. That's a pretty big gap. All right, nice blue spark.